back to more pressing matters. Shamima Begum has lost her appeal against the UK government, against her British citizenship being revoked, and it means that she's still stuck in a Syrian camp and is barred from returning to Britain. And a lot of people all over the world will be desperately upset about all of that, of course. The decision to deprive the then 19-year-old of her citizenship was taken by the Home Secretary Sajid Javid back in 2019. Today, it was upheld by the High Court. And, of course, it sparked criticism from those who argue that the UK is palming off its problems to other countries. And today, the director of the human rights organisation Reprieve, Maya Foa, said the UK should take responsibility for Shamima Begum. Well, is she onto something or talking absolute trash? With me now is political commentator Emma Webb, who debated one of Shamima Begum's lawyers back in 2018, actually. And I'm also joined by the anti-racism campaigner Bushra Sheikh. Look, both of you, thank you very much. Really interested to see where we end up with this particular discussion. Bushra, I'll start with you. How do you react to this idea now that Shamima Begum, not a British citizen, bish bash bosh, you're not coming home?
Absolute nonsense. Probably the worst decision that they could make today. And because there are two different factors at play at the moment. One is the fact that she was this ISIS bride that went over there, potentially an extremist, groomed online. And then you've got another side of it, which is huge implications for millions of people in the UK that potentially could be stripped of their own British rights if they inherently have family and parents that come from another country. This is a huge discussion.
OK. Emma, come back on that.
I mean, well, it only sets a precedent if somebody goes and joins a terrorist organisation. So I don't think that is what we should be focusing on here. I think that initially the Home Secretary's decision was right given the evidence before him. Obviously, we can't know that, but the point that has been made by the court today in this verdict is that that this is something that constitutionally is a power of the Home Secretary for him to make this decision. And they have found in favour of that decision. But by no means should we be counting our chickens before they hatch. Because this is obviously something that is going to continue to be appealed. Her legal team have been very clear that they're not going to stop trying to get her back here. So I don't think we should be necessarily celebrating, but absolutely, I don't think that she's our responsibility. I think that she's being painted as the victim, and actually that's to the detriment of the real victims of the organisation that she went to join.
Bushra, can I just ask Bushra quickly on this? Now, the Home Secretary at the time, Sajid Javid, has said, if you knew what I knew, there's no way we'd even be having this discussion about her coming back. Can I ask why, it may appear anyway, why you are more willing to take the version of events of a former ISIS bride over the Home Secretary? At the time, I don't quite understand that. Can you explain that?
Okay, so you know what? If they have information that potentially could change, let's say, our viewpoint, then share that with the public. Because right now, in my opinion, so let's just say that there was intelligence involved, and we know that there's always two sides to a story. However, as far as I'm concerned, this is the government, the UK government, trying to cover up themselves to say that they actually don't have a process in place for individuals like Shamima Begum. What is going to be done for every single other person that has something like this happen to them? There is no process in this country. Can we even convict these people? I'm not even saying that she's guilty. Even if she is a monster, she's a monster of the UK. She deserves to come back to the country in which she was born. This is her right. OK, Emma, it's her right to come home.
This was a national security decision from the Home Secretary. So, I think... Again, we're putting all of this emphasis on Begum as being some kind of...
Oh, I think Emma's just dropped off for a second for us there. We'll bring her back. Sorry, Emma. Carry on, Emma. Sorry, we lost you for a second. Carry on.
Apologies for the bad connection. Look, I think that we are trying to paint Begum as a victim here. I think that this is first and foremost a security decision by the Home Secretary, which is his job. With Sajid Javid's job, is Suella Braverman's job to put the security of the British public first. So trying to paint Begum as if she's some kind of victim here, I think is completely misled. We're just doing the work of her PR team.
OK. Bushra, can I ask you, do you think there would be a different narrative surrounding Shamima Begum if she was white?
Absolutely. 100%. We know that in this country, we have homegrown racists, people that treat each other differently based on their skin color. She's made an example of, due to a color, due to a discriminative racist policy that exists within government that can treat people as second-tier citizens. This is a fact. This is the bigger conversation. People of color can be treated differently. Okay.
Let me drill down on that, Bushra, before I throw it back to Emma. So if I'm hearing you correctly, in your view, Shamima Begum, who left Tower Hamlets to go and be an ISIS bride and allegedly sewed suicide bombers into their suicide jackets, didn't balk at beheaded bodies in the streets and only renounced ISIS after ISIS had been crushed, you think that one of the main reasons behind why the government doesn't want her back in the UK is because the government is racist against her?
It's not that the government is racist against her. It's setting an example. It's saying that there is a conscious bias that exists within our policies against people like me. And perhaps Emma cannot even relate to this because I have parents that come from another country. So if tomorrow my good behaviour as a Britishness is being policed by people, that's not the same as anybody else. You do not get that treatment, so why should I get that treatment? And that's exactly what we're seeing here.
OK, Emma, come back.
I think the argument that this is a racist decision is patently ridiculous because you just have to look at the fact that Jack Letts, who is a white man who was stripped of his citizenship, he's a dual Canadian citizen. So it's obviously patently ridiculous. If anything, actually, the whole narrative here is sexist because it's going light on Begum because she's a woman. Because if she were a 15-year-old boy who'd gone to be a fighter for Islamic State, then we certainly wouldn't be trying to paint her as the victim in exactly the same way. The issue here is that if we bring her back here to try her, we won't be able to convict her because the sort of evidence that you can collect from a war zone, it will not be admissible in court, be very unlikely to secure a conviction. And that has been the case across the board with foreign fighters who have returned. So this is putting the security of the British public first. It absolutely has nothing to do with racism.
Emma, I'll stick with you. Well, go on, carry on, Bushra, actually. Carry on. You two got it, yeah. Go on, Bushra.
No, I was just going to say to Emma, explain to me how you think she's actually a threat to the UK public. Like, explain that. She should come back here. This is where she was born, get trialled here and have a justice system that she deserves. We do that to paedophiles, to murderers. We even give them the opportunity of rehabilitation. But for some reason, when it comes to Shamima Begum, everybody wants to have another standard. Why do we have these double standards in this country? And you are exactly the person who I'm speaking to.
Go on then, Emma. Final word to you on this.
This is specifically a problem with convicting returning foreign fighters. We would be very unlikely to secure a conviction and to get justice here. This is a decision by the Home Secretary. Of course, we can't have the information available to us. It's his job and it's within his powers constitutionally to make decisions to make sure that the British public are kept safe. This is due process. What is happening here with this going through the courts in the UK is part of the process. So I think the Home Secretary was absolutely right to put the British public's security first.
OK, look, both of you, can I just say thank you for a fantastic debate, strong views on either side. That is a proper debate about this topic. So, look, we massively appreciate it. There's Bushra Sheikh there, who is an anti-racism campaigner, and, of course, Emma Webb as well, political commentator, who actually did debate one of Shamima Begum's lawyers back in 2018. How good was that, ladies and gentlemen? GBviews at gbnews.uk. Get them flying in. We're going to be repeating debates like that, actually, a bit later on, although I'm not sure they'll be quite as good. I don't want to ruin the rest of my own show, but that was pretty spicy. Now,